Okay, in this video, what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about my Raspberry Pi and what I'm doing with it. So currently, I'm working on a garage door application. It's a similar app to what a lot of other people are doing. I'm going to talk a little bit about the architecture of the app. What I decided to do is create the app as a standalone command line application that I can schedule as a task. So it'll be basically a cron job that'll execute basically every couple seconds. It's going to fire off. So the reason I decided to do it as a cron job is that I didn't want to create a standalone application that would be running on this Raspberry Pi for days and months and years. So I was afraid that at some point we would have internet failure or something would happen, memory leak or a bug or something, and I'd have to reboot the Raspberry Pi every 2 months. So to avoid that, what I decided to do is just create it as a standalone application that will allow it to run, and then after it runs, it's done, and a couple seconds later, it would rerun again. So what I did, just to test to make sure I'm testing it correctly, I created a button and also an LED. So the button is going to basically detect if the door is up or down. So if the button is not being pressed, the door is down. And if the door is down, the Raspberry Pi knows the door state as being false. If the door is up, the button is going to be pressed. So I actually created a button on my garage door. So as soon as the garage door goes up, it presses the button, which would then turn the button state to true, meaning the door is up. So the LED basically will flash, and when the LED flashes, that's going to be simulating the press of the button, the door, like the doorbell button for the garage door. So what I'm going to end up doing is wiring a relay. So if the power hits the relay, it will allow the electricity to run through the relay, which will actually be just like a door press. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run it. As you can see, the Raspberry Pi has booted up, and I'm sitting at a command prompt right now. So I'm just going to run the command. And currently, it says that last known state is true, the current state is false, and it's synced the state to false. So what I'm doing, just with the logic, is I'm caching the last known state. So for example, if the last known state was true, that means that the door was open. Okay, so the last time the Raspberry Pi, the door was open. Now currently the door is closed because the current state is false, meaning the button is no longer pressed. And then what it's doing is it's synchronizing it to false. Now the way this would happen is I needed to take into account, what if somebody leaves and they close the garage door by pressing either the button by the door, or if they press the garage door opener in their car. That would mess up what I'm calling the remote state. The remote state is the state of the web service. So what I did at this point is, according to the internet, according to the last time it ran, it was true, meaning that it was open. Somebody closed it. So between now and the last time I ran this, somebody actually closed the garage door. So the sync, what that does is it changes the last known state to being false, and then it also updates the web service to being false. So that way the web service and the last known state will be false. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this application again. Now normally this would be on a cron job, so it would automatically just keep on running every couple of seconds. But I'm just going to run it again. So the last known state is false, the door state is false, and the web service value is 0, which is false. So basically this thing will just continue to run like this, and it'll go, and no change, false, false, checking the remote, false. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually update the web service value. So I'm just going to use my phone, and I'm just going to use Siri. Open garage door. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to fire up an app, and the app will automatically open, and then it shuts itself. So it basically opened the garage door. It obviously didn't open it at this point because the Raspberry Pi is right here. But what it did is it changed that state on the internet. So if I was like driving towards my house, this cron job would run. And then what it's going to do is it's going to say last known state's false, current state is false, web service is a 1, meaning that it's needing to open, and it's going to open the door. So basically, I was too busy looking at the screen. I didn't see this thing run. So if I run this again, so last known state is opening, all right, and then the current door state is false, and then waiting for garage door to open. So what I needed to think through is I needed to realize that as soon as I say open the garage door, the current door state is not going to automatically become true because the door is down. I say open garage door, and it's going to take more than a second or two for that whole door to get all the way up and then eventually press the button. So I needed to basically say that it's in an opening state, and then once it goes to true, so I'm just going to press the button here. Once it goes to true, now if I rerun this, now the door state is in opening, and the door state is open, so now it's going to synchronize it to true. So it's just going to keep on running here. Is true, true. The remote state is going to be 1. The door is currently open. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change that web service to being a 0. I'm going to make it to a false. So I'm going to grab my phone here, and I'm going to change this to close. So I'm just going to run the close app, or I could have went to Siri and said close. Okay, so I ran the close app. So currently my remote state is at a 1, but now since I closed it, that flipped it over to a 0. So what I want to do is I'm just going to focus in on the LED here, and I'm just going to run this application again. And you'll see that blink. There it went. So that was simulating that door press. And if I take a look at the screen here, I see that the last known state is true, door state is true, so that means the door is open. It knew it was open. It's going to check the internet. The internet says time to close, so then it closes the door. And now I took my finger off of it, and then if I rerun it again, it's false, false. The remote state is false. So this is basically the way that I'm just testing the app to make sure that all states are currently being accounted for. So if somebody were to open the door without using the internet, I'm just going to run it. And what it's going to do is it's going to say last known state's false, current state is true, somebody opened the door, so this is going to synchronize everything to true. So the last known state then becomes true, the web service gets set to true. The little LED did not blink, so everything should be working. If I go to close, it's going to close the door. So at this point, the web service is a false, so I'm just going to rerun the application here again. And it's false, false, boom. Now it closes the door. Take my finger off the button because the door now is going down. So anyways, that's the Raspberry Pi. It looks like the logic is solid. I just kind of wanted to create a little video just talking about how I tied the web service up to the Raspberry Pi and how I tested it using a button and an LED. So what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to wire this up to my garage door and take it from there.